Okay, the first book I did was Cinderella, which is retold by Francesca Boda. Um, Through this, it is told both in Spanish and English. So I'm not exactly for sure where the culture setting was, and I did have a hard time with the time period. But Cinderella is a lovely and sweet, just as her mother was, according to the story, and she was beautiful and pure. The gown in the story was just like each story, and it represented wealth. The shoe is glass, along with being designed specifically for Cinderella. Stepmother was conceited and jealous, and the stepdaughters were jealous. At the end of this book, though, the stepdaughters did ask for the forgiveness of Cinderella and eventually met two men to court also. The prince was kind and expressive towards his feelings towards Cinderella, and the fairy godmother is able to turn pumpkins into carriages. Throughout the story, just like Cinderella, the lizards were the ones that were turned into the horses. And the fairy godmother is an older lady, just like in Cinderella. The ball is at the palace. Cultural relevance could be the balls they had held to court women or any royal party. And the art elements in this book would be line, shape, and color. We have like our shapes of our windows. We have all kinds of colors, as you can see. An oval shape again. We have some lines throughout it. And the illustrations match up with the story being told. The story and illustrations were basic and not too much detail. So between each picture, there was a lot of detail through the story. And that out of that detail, only one picture was pulled from it. Okay, my second book was Bubba the Cowboy Prince. There's a glare. Okay, this is a fractured tale. And the time or the culture setting was Texas. So Bubba's a hardworking, accepting, and patient man. The stepdad is degrading, rude, and wicked, and the stepbrothers are rude and mocking. Princess is kind, rich, and determined. And the gown is the suit. Culture relevance is cowboys wear suits, boots, and Stetson hats in Texas. The boot is the culture relevance to the cowboys, and God Cow uses his magic as animals don't talk or could create an outfit and cast spells. God Cow represents the farming life, and the ball is a hoedown, a country dance. So the art element throughout this would be shape, color, value. And the illustrations support the details in the story. And as you read through the story, the details are very vivid, matches up very well with each description given. This was a great book, especially a different version. You just see Cinderella as a female and not from the male perspective. And then for my last one, let me try to share my screen for you guys. All right. So here is the Golden Sandal. It's a Middle Eastern Cinderella story. So the cultural setting was in the Middle Eastern, and it was Iraq to be exact. So Cinderella is a young, beautiful girl who is smart. Maha is kind and thoughtful of others, along with determined not to give up through the cruel acts of her stepmother and stepsister. The gown was silk, which is a representation of what the well-to-do, the rich wear in the Middle East. So the relevance is wealth. The shoe is gold, and when presented to the mother, her assumption was a stereotype of wealth. Based on the location and being known as an oil sector, wealth is common. Stepmother was vengeful when she realized Maha had better characteristics than her own daughter. The stepsister was jealous and added hardship to Maha's workload. A wanderer who was helpful, and the prince seen a beauty beyond his imagination. He was blinded by love and overlooked the status of Maha. So the magical fish is the representation of culture, fish offerings to the gods, fish saving Jonah, and the fish holds true to his word, creating a magic by creating maha, swishes. Witchcraft peddlers make oils from cast spells that made the stepsister's hair fall out and stink. Witchcraft is a practice among some of the religions in this culture. The red fish is the representation of the fairy godmother. Iraq culture shows the magic of a fish resulting in granted wishes. This also kind of goes back to the story in China. So a lot of it, the fish, the resemblance of the fish or the relevance of the fish is back to China culture also. But when doing some research, the culture in fish for Iraq or the Middle East was that it was an offering to the gods, or it was when the fish saved Jonah, kind of like in this story by granting the wishes. So the Mala story is a celebration of a bride receiving henna stain. Brides before their wedding day received henna stain on their hands and feet as a tradition to their culture. So brides still do this over in the Middle East. So I'm going to kind of go through pictures. Throughout the story, the texture is used in the background of each illustration. So like the walls are textured, dresses textured. Line would also be like the direction of the clothes flow, the roof of the buildings. The colors would be like the reds. You see red a lot and golds. Middle Eastern is known for wealth, and you see a lot of red and golds when it comes to wealth. The colors red and gold are shown throughout, symbolizing happiness in China, where the book originated from. For Iraq, it means purity, anger, love, envy, and happiness. The buildings throughout the story show shape and form, and the literary elements line up with the characters and the plot of the story. The buildings and wardrobe show the setting of the story as well. So a lot of the wardrobe throughout this is stuff that you would see over in the Middle East. So those were my 3 on Cinderella.